The people, the headlines, the issues impacting you and your family. This Week in Cincinnati on 9 on Your Side.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Cincinnati. I'm Tanya O'Rourke. We have a lot to cover for you today. First, Ohio takes the next step toward medical marijuana. 9 on Your Side had the only local news camera in Columbus when the Board of Pharmacy announced where new dispensaries will go. There will be about 60 of them across the state, 7 of them in Southwest Ohio.
Everybody obviously wants it to move a little bit quicker than it did. You folks wanted to know, months ago whether or not they got the licenses. But I think it's important that the state did take the time to make sure they got it right.
Dispensaries will open across the tri-state. You will find a couple in Cincinnati, 2 in Butler County, 1 in Warren County, and 1 in Hillsborough. And they are all supposed to be open by September 8th. Which brings us to Lisa Bernard-Kuhn. Now, many of you probably remember that Lisa was a reporter with WCPO.com. She covered medical marijuana for us extensively. She is now with an industry publication, Marijuana Business Daily. So, Lisa, it's supposed to be open, all of these places, by September 8th. Medical marijuana is supposed to be legal, open, and available September 8th. Not going to happen.
That was always a very aggressive timeline, and I think we've been writing about that fact for 2 years. 2 years ago when the law first hit the books here in Ohio. What we've been told is that September 8th deadline is not going to be hit. Hopefully, there will be some product on the shelf for patients who need it by the fourth quarter of this year. There's still a lot that needs to be done to get us to that point where somebody can walk into a dispensary and go legally buy their medical marijuana in Ohio.
Yeah, and I think for the folks sitting at home going, well, why is this taking so long? Walk us through it a little bit. Like, there's a whole lot involved when you're designing a brand new law like this.
Absolutely. So we're talking about setting up the regulatory framework. That's what lawmakers have spent the last 2 years doing. They approved medical marijuana to be legal in Ohio way back in 2016. Since then, they've been going through hundreds of rules and new laws to figure out how do you regulate this brand new industry. And that's been a step-by-step process, getting a lot of stakeholder feedback, getting a lot of industry feedback, but really trying to figure out how do we get our arms around this new industry here in Ohio. And then beyond that, issuing the business licenses, figuring out the framework for just doing that. And we're talking about several pieces, moving pieces within the medical marijuana industry here in Ohio. You have cultivators, you have processors who turn the plant into an allowable form of medical marijuana that a patient can use. That product has to be tested, then it moves to the dispensary. That's a lot that has to happen.
And you touched on it right there. You said all of these products have to be tested. Every single product or batch has to be tested to make sure that it indeed is exactly what the medical community needs and wants it to be. That's not fast.
That's right. They're looking for certain THC levels, et cetera, just making sure that it's a consumable product, right? That it's going to be, there's, no disease in it, the kinds of things that you just don't want in your body. Those are all the things that they're going to be testing for. That piece hasn't even come together yet. The licenses for the testing facilities should be forthcoming, but all of that has to get up and running before we see these dispensaries open.
Should, woulds, if, lots of those words being used in this process. I mean, the cultivators were announced so late. I mean, weeks and weeks and weeks late. In your new position now, because you're working on this every day, are you seeing, these are plants, they have to be grown. Are you seeing the plants happening? Are the cultivators up and running?
Yeah, so one thing to put in perspective here, these delays aren't uncommon. Ohio isn't the only state in the country that has seen,
Oregon had a hard time with this.
That's right. Every state that has come online has dealt with this, entire, building out this entirely new regulatory framework. And so it takes months, years to get this up and running. But then there is just that process of growing the plant, right? You need up to 14 weeks to get that off the ground, but you need a facility to do that. So many of these cultivators had to go out, they had to secure land, they had to figure out what kind of facility they were going to grow this in, and you want a very controlled environment that's going to foster the kind of plant that, will eventually become a product that hit the store shelf.
So you said quarter 4. I mean, we're talking November-ish, maybe, that you'll see some product. What about those poor folks who really have been waiting, since 2016 and well before that, too, folks who feel that medical marijuana really helps them?
Yeah, so you have a lot of patients who are very eager to see this system up and running. You have a lot of businesses that have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars and are trying to make it to this, Some call it a finish line, some call it, the starting point for this race, right? What we're told is that, again, this next bottleneck could be the testing facilities. You need to get all that product tested, needs to get to the store shelves. I'm talking to consultants and attorneys who are working with these businesses, trying to get their businesses off the ground, and they really all have their eyes set on that testing piece.
And finally, 7 in Southwest Ohio.
That's right.
That doesn't seem like a lot to me, honestly. When you think about how many there are going to be across this giant state of ours, Ohio, 7 for the entire Southwest Ohio doesn't seem like a lot, but maybe I'm incorrect.
56 across the state, 7 in our region. The Board of Pharmacy does have the discretion to issue more licenses for more dispensaries, but all of that comes once you start getting your patient counts in place and start understanding how many folks have actually applied and have been able to receive, a patient card to be able to go in and use medical marijuana. And once we see those numbers build out, then we'll really start seeing the market take hold here.
Lisa Bernard-Kuhn, it is always great to see you. Thank you for coming in. I'm sure we'll be talking to you in the very near future.